Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials. Most of us that come to Waldorf sort of understand that there are these 3 stages of childhood, broader stages, and they're actually 7-year stages that go on beyond childhood. We sort of have these 7-year cycles in our life that sort of lead us through. So like the first one would be the age of imitation, when they're 0 to 7 and they're very much into imitating in everything that they do. In fact, I have this graphic in the Planning for Peace journal. I'll just read from it. So, excuse me, the age of imitation is 0 to 7. And they're very much in the I am watching you and everything that you do phase. And that's just they're watching you, they're imitating you. That's why it's really great to get them doing chores by that age, because then they're seeing and they're sort of seeing you do those things. And so our job during those years is to be very worthy of imitation. And a lot of moms get really hung up on that and go, oh, I yell too much. Or this is the place where you're doing a lot of inner work and really getting to a place where you like yourself and you're feeling very good about your parenting. And don't stress, though, if you're beyond that and you're still not in the place of feeling good. It's a journey. It's definitely a journey with where the direction is much more important than the speed toward the destination. Then we have like the second 7-year cycle, which is this age of identification. And the quote for that would be, I am learning from you, but you better know your stuff. You better know and understand what you're teaching. And this is very much true for children that are around the age of 9. They really want to make sure that you know your things that you're teaching them. So whether you're teaching them at home or you're a parent that doesn't homeschool, in all cases, we really need to be able to be in that space of really understanding what being proper, like having proper authority means. And this is very important for them to feel safe and secure as they're sort of moving on to the next stage. And the next stage would be 14 to 21, the age of independence. And so I have 3 people on that stage right now. It's kind of scary. And that their quote would really be, I have figured out that you don't know everything. And I'm starting to wonder if you know anything. So that's like a stage 2 where you're trying to really guide them. And you're hoping that they learn from your mistakes, but most of the time they don't. Most of us don't learn from our parents' mistakes. And so, it's great to have mentors, and it's great to have people that are other than parents be with them during those times. So we know that there's those cycles, and there are cycles that go beyond that. I have a really good chart somewhere I need to dig up. But the cycles that I really want to talk about are sort of these cycles in between those. So there are these 3-year cycles that sort of go along at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and 21 that really sort of work within these bigger cycles, and they're working from the space of standing apart. So I'm just going to quickly overview them a little bit. And hi, Mom. Quickly overview them a little bit. And just sort of talk about them briefly today. And then I thought we would do videos for the next few weeks on each of the stages so that you can really sink your teeth into and feel good about parenting in each stage. So like I said, hi guys. First, we're going to talk about the big overall. Just because, like I said, I really want you to be able to wrap your head around it. And so it's going to take several videos in order to get it all through. So we'll just start today. So the first stage is the changes that happen at 3. And so people talk about the terrible 2s. I never had terrible 2s. 2s are just very busy. They're generally not terrible. The terror for mom starts to come really at 3. And so it would start probably a little bit before 3, maybe by 3 or 2.5, 2 3/4 as you move on to age 3. And so then you've got these changes, and the reason why they're so frustrating for mom is because this is really a time when they're trying to pull away for the first time. This is their first pulling away. We have to realize that we gave birth to these children and we have stewardship over them, but they came through us, not really from us. And so from the time that they're born, they're ready to leave. And so it's about sort of having these stages of independence for them. So stage 3 is this first stage of independence where they can walk away from mom, be away from mom. They sort of seeing the world around them for the first time, and they're like little squirrels. They're like, oh, I want to see that, and I want to lick that, and I want to taste that, and I want to see that, and I want to hug that. And so that's definitely the 3-year-old. Then you've got the next step into independence at age 6. Sorry, my voice. I've been fighting a little cold here at House Nielsen. So anyway, so the next stage is around 6. And this is really, like Steiner called this time a time of leaving Eden. And so they're starting to feel a little bit alone because they're realizing it's not just family. The world is this big, vast place, and they're expected to sort of be the big kid and be in it. And that's when we start education, usually between 6 and 7. These changes you can see anytime from, again, about 5.5 up till 7. I think the cycle really starts to really complete itself for most children, for most neurotypical children, by about 7. And then, sorry, just making sure I wasn't like spilling my tea. And so that can be very frustrating for mom. They start to be a lot more independent. This is where you might really hear no's from them. And when you ask them to do something where you've had, maybe a compliant child all this time, you might really get a lot of pushback at this point. This is where Soraya is, and I'm seeing some pushback. But I've been through this, so I'm like, child, this is not my first rodeo. You and I are going to have a meeting of the minds. And so this is, again, this is your first space, well, probably your second space of really being called to understanding what it means to be firm and loving. It's a little bit different when they're still, when they're 3. Many moms are still nursing, and so you can really distract a lot that way. But here at 6 is when a lot of moms get their eyes open. They're like, wait a minute, what in the heck has happened? This kid was so nice, and now I can't stand to be around them. And so, like, really, this is their first step into major independence, and really challenging you. Sorry, my voice. And so then that goes on, and then you've got the 9-year change. The 9-year change seems to be the one that we talk about the most in Waldorf. 9-year and 6-year. We talk about the most. There's the most education about that one. We have some great podcasts on our site. But really, the 9-year change can be extremely frustrating for some moms, and I totally get it. And if you have neurotypical children and children that have some kind of spectrum stuff going on, and by that I'm looking at like the whole broad thing. I know that it used to be that all of that stuff was on the same spectrum, and people keep telling me it's not on the same spectrum anymore. In my head, it still is. So I'm just talking about the whole thing. If you've got anything else going on that is not neurotypical, these stages are going to last a little bit longer. They might start later and last longer. So I can remember with Harry, when he didn't really seem to fully go into it until he was right at about 9, and then he seemed to stay there for a little bit. So I had Harry like coming out of the end of it, and Jacob, who was coming right up into it. So I had both of them battling at the same time. It was fun stuff, let me tell you. So at 9, they're really seeing independence more. They're really going, okay, these people are frustrating me. I want justice. I want everything to be right. And they better know their stuff. And so this is a time when you really have to stand firmly in your authority. This age right now, the age of 9, is really where a lot of parents they've been, this AP parent all this time, and then all of a sudden they're like, crap, I don't know what to do with this child. He's doing all kinds of things that he shouldn't be doing. He's being mouthy to me, and I've raised him right. I don't understand. So really, this is that real pivotal spot where you have to say, wait a minute. I love you. I want you to feel like you can express yourself, but I am the mom. I am the parent. This is where that proper authority really stands firm. And if you don't do it at 9, you are really, really going to struggle. So I'm saying this to all of you guys who have kids that are younger than 9. This is the place where you really have to pay attention. And moms that have kids that are older than 9, that have weathered it and have gone through it smoothly, you know that there are things that happened around that time period that if you hadn't put your foot down on or gotten through explaining to them and really had them pliable, then you would have really struggled. And certain temperaments are definitely harder than others. Like for my bigger boys, it was much more arguing, yelling, and defiance. For Sam, well, and Ellie was kind of that way too, but Ellie had a lot of depression struggles at age 9. And so, and that's really hard to watch a child go through, let me tell you. So she had a lot of depression struggles around there. But so it manifests differently for different kids. And so depending on their temperament, Samuel was like the easiest 9 ever. Like if I would have had 10 kids if they were all like easy like Sam when it comes to these changes. I think the craziest thing he ever did when he was 3 is I think he had one tantrum at 3, and it seems like he had one tantrum at 6. So all we can remember when Eric and I sit back and talk about it, he didn't really have any tantrums at 9. All I could notice is that he was doing the pick thing at his big sister, and that's really when her view of him changed, because he was no longer this sweet little boy that she could hang out with and pretty much have at her whim. And then he started really having some opinions, and she didn't like that very much. And so this is where you're going to see changes in siblings and the way they're looking at younger siblings, and you're going to see changes in these younger siblings too, as they're sort of looking out on the world. So, and if your 9-year-old is your oldest, you might be thinking, what in the heck did I get myself into? Just keep on going. There's then more changes that happen at 12, and the changes that happen at 12, again, more independence. They're seeking more independence. Mom, I'm 12. I can't believe you're not going to let me walk down around the street and around the corner and go do what I want to do. They're very much in that place. They're also very much in the place of materialism, and that's when you're going to start really hearing the gimmes, but it's going to be more, before it's like gimme because it was stuff that they saw that they wanted, but around 12, they start to really see the world, and they're wanting more worldly gimmes. Around 12, that's why those stories in 6th grade, the stories of the conquering Romans, are really good for them. They really help to balance them out a little bit. So that's what you see at 12. At 15, I saw a lot of, especially for my boys, and actually a bit from Eleanor too. I remember when my big boys were 15, especially Harry, he sat at the end of my bed and was like, I don't ever want to leave. Like he was going to have to leave tomorrow. So it's 15 can be very tumultuous for them, because they're realizing, I'm not a little kid anymore. I'm not even 12 anymore. I'm in this place where I can fully see adulthood, and it scares the crap out of me. And some of them are going to run towards it and be really excited about it, but there's still that element of fear and trepidation for them. And so both of my big boys were kind of like, Mommy, don't make me go, at that age. And I remember when Ellie turned 15, she just cried. She was like, I'm not old enough to have my driver's license. I'm not old enough to date. I'm still stuck here. So because that year between 15 and 16 seems giant to them. And then they sort of get over it, that's really when you want to make sure that you've got, especially if you've got kids that struggle with depression, make sure that you've got them busy enough, and make sure that you've got enough activities where they've got mentors. And we really found, for us, it was really helpful. They were really strong in karate around then, and that was super, super helpful for her. And she's, she'll probably run that dojo someday. She's very much into it and very much loves her mentor. So, you really want to make sure that you've got those things in place. Those are when moms say to me, oh, what books should they read when they're this age? I'm like, oh, let's back up and let's talk about what things you have in place for that age, because the ages of about 13 up, they really need some mentors in their lives. So that could be anybody. It could be an extra class that they're taking with somebody that they really bond with. Ellie's had several over the years. She's had, acting mentors. She was in a Shakespearean group. She had that lady as a mentor for a while. And now, like I said, she's got the dojo, and I think that will really be hers for forever. My bigger boys had scout leaders that they really could turn to, and adult friends that they really like. So those are the things you really want to be thinking about at about 15. 18 is this next step in independence where they're like, woohoo, I'm done. I'm an adult now. Where they're really, we all know that 18 is, the time that the world thinks they're an adult, but not really. I don't even know why we use that as the adult age, because they are not adults. They think they are, but there's still so much learning they have to do. And I really, I really think that as we're approaching 21 with Harry, so he's 20 and a half, I'm seeing more and more the wisdom that my older friends have told me about. It's really about around 21 when they start to really feel like they might be adults. And that doesn't mean that they're going to get it all right and that everything's going to be all right up here, because we still continue to develop after that. But they start to knock off the blinders of being a teenager and really start looking forward around then. I'm seeing a ton of changes. So Harry's away on a mission, and he left when he was 18 and a half. And we get to talk to him every few months on the phone, like face to face, and we email every week. And what I've seen in having that gap between being able to actually see him are these major changes that happen structurally, physically in his face. There's been major changes, and just in his growth. And so it's very interesting to see that difference, because Jacob, my son that's 18, I've seen him. Again, I had the same span in between because he lives in Utah with my ex-husband. So I'm not seeing those changes, or I am seeing those changes with him as well, like changes just in height and in physical appearance. And so that's really very interesting to see. That's different than when you see them every day. I've seen Ellie every day. So I can look at these pictures, but I haven't seen the profound difference because I see her every day. So, things to sort of look for around 18 is really, they're in this place where they're like, I don't need your help anymore. I'm off. I'm going. And so, profound patience is all that I'm thinking right now. Right before Harry left, and we had several instances where we had to say, listen, I know that you want to be gone. You want to be on your own. You want to be independent. But hello, you still need us to foot the bill. You still want to live here. So we've got to lay down some rules. So we still very much have rules about what's okay in our house, and that's because this is our house, and you are so welcome to do whatever you want when it's your house. And so don't, because you've got kids that are approaching these things, just don't be like, do whatever you want, because we have younger children, and so we have standards that we need to make sure that we keep up for them, and so we want to really be careful about what we allow. And so just because we don't want to have problems raising them, then it's supposed to be easier as they get older and they're younger, not harder. So, really sort of keep those things in mind as you're giving privileges to your teens and then later adults. Yes, when you live at home, you should either have some sort of curfew or at least call mom. You should have rules in place about whether or not different sex sleepovers are okay. You should have definite rules about that, even when they're adults, because this is your house. So when you're footing the bill, you still get a say in all of that. So, and that does not take away from their individuality, because they are so welcome to get a job and be individual all on their own someplace else. So, keeping those things in mind. So I'm hoping that this is a really fun series for you. I know most of you are in the lower three places, the 3, 6, 9s. But I really love development, and I love development a la Steiner and all of the things that I've learned over the years. I find that it is a huge eye-opener to me when I can go, okay, the reason why my 6-year-old is fighting me is because she's really seeking this independence, and she really thinks she can do it on her own, and I'm going to step back a little bit. Or the reason why she's falling apart all the time and crying so much is because she really feels like she's alone, and she can't articulate that. These changes there are things that you'll hear them say that will confirm that that's the stage they're in, but they really can't articulate what each stage is. And they really can't articulate why they're feeling that way. They just don't know. And if you think back on your own childhood, think about times when you felt like you were just crawling out of your skin and you were just so anxious. And that's where they are. And so we have to parent them from that space. And knowing that really helps us, at least it really helps me. Having an understanding of where they are helps me deal with their behavior. It helps me to look at it and go, okay, this is a battle I need to pick, and a line I need to draw, a boundary I need to make sure that they understand. And this is a time when I really just need to hug them and not yell at them. And so it's about really understanding those stages. You guys have a wonderful week.